Is Nintendo being too quiet right now? It really feels like something might have changed internally, be it a Switch 2 announcement, be it a regular Nintendo Direct, and that's why there's a huge gap in news and exciting announcements, or maybe they're just saving up that marketing budget this year for a big push in the second half, be it for more Switch 1 games or for the Switch 2. It just feels like it's a pretty quiet time to be a Nintendo fan, and I've seen this sentiment a lot online that like, wow, 2024 is like a really bad year for the Switch. So today I want to talk about that, talk about my experience with that, especially as a Nintendo content creator, and also kind of push back on it a little bit, because while yes, it is undeniably a relatively dry year for Nintendo fans, there's still a lot to be excited about. There's been a lot of cool games released on the Switch so far this year, in my opinion, so I wanted to talk about that and more. Of course, if you are new here and you enjoy Nintendo Switch news, reviews, discussions, coverage, all of that stuff, I would appreciate you subscribing. Let's get into it. Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Botox Games, and yes, today we are talking about the lack of Nintendo news. You know, normally I like to hype things up. I like to say, oh, maybe there's going to be a Direct this week, the next week, you know, that kind of thing. Today I want to talk about the reality that there hasn't really been that much happening this year, because that has been a very common sentiment I've been seeing online, and just a lot of disappointment, I think, in the Nintendo community when it comes to Nintendo's marketing, their messaging, and really just what they've released in general this year, which, you know, there's two sides to every coin. I can look at it from both angles. I've been okay with what they've released so far this year. You know, in January, we had another code, Recollection, which I really enjoyed, and I think for a lot of people that maybe played that game, that was probably the first time they've ever played it. Plus, it was a full remake. That wasn't like a simple remaster. I mean, they fully remade both of those games, so I really enjoyed that as a newcomer to that franchise. Mario vs. Donkey Kong was a pretty solid one-to-one remake of the GBA classic, and then, of course, we had Splatoon 3 Side Order. I think a lot of people already have forgotten about that. That was really cool to see a, you know, Nintendo take on a roguelike mode in a video game, and then most recently, we had Princess Peach Showtime, but really, that's only one new game and a DLC and 2 remakes. Like, it's still a nice amount of quantity, and as someone who plays basically everything Nintendo puts out, it's like, okay, there's still pretty much like once a month, there's something for me to look forward to, but it's just not as exciting as a new game. Even Princess Peach Showtime, which I enjoyed quite a bit, it's still not like to the caliber of, like, I don't know, even like a new Kirby game or something, for, you know, I don't know if that makes sense, right? It's still a pretty low caliber game, at least in terms of excitement surrounding the game, which then kind of feedback loops into the internet discussion of the game, because most people don't really care to discuss it, even though I think that game will sell very well, especially around Christmas time. It's not really a game that gets people excited, if that makes sense. So while I'm personally happy with the amount of quantity and really even the quality of what we've gotten this year, it just hasn't been anything that exciting to talk about. You know, I played all of these games quietly. The only one of those games I made a video on was Princess Peach Showtime. You know, I didn't do a video on another code or Mario vs. Donkey Kong because, frankly, I just knew there wasn't going to be an interest in seeing videos on them because, I don't know, it just like, I don't know if all the wind has been blown out of the sails of the Switch, but it just feels like there's less hype in general this year. Be that because it's, you know, coming up on 8 years old. I guess it just turned 7, so it'll be 8 next year. Be that, you know, the type of games we're getting, all of these remakes. It just feels like it's not as exciting of a time in general in the community. I'm personally relatively content, I would say, but there is this growing sentiment that it is a dying year for the Nintendo Switch, and I think that might stem a lot from a lot of people's expectations that the Switch 2 would release this year. And, you know, I was, you know, I mean, once again, pat myself on the back. I was trying to warn you all that that was not going to happen, and who knows, maybe it could. I really doubt it. You know, I always like to prepare for the worst when it comes to Nintendo, and I've also learned patience in general. I was there during, you know, the NX days. I was there for the Wii U days. And I remember being very excited for the NX in 2016, and I was like, oh, this is going to release in 2016. I remember, I think at E3 2015, Reggie said, oh, you'll learn more in 2016. And I remember when he said that, I was like, oh, it's coming out in 2016 for sure. And then it didn't. So from that, I was always kind of expecting, well, this isn't going to go exactly as we want, right? The Switch 2 is not going to come out in early 2024, probably not even late 2024. I've just always kind of set myself up for that expectation that 2025, it kind of makes more sense from, you know, business reasons and all that. I've made several videos on that, but also, you always got to set yourself up for that little bit of disappointment, in my opinion. But what's actually going on? Because if the Switch 2 isn't coming out this year, whether or not it was delayed or not, you know, that remains to be seen. I guess we might never know if it was ever intended to actually come out this year. What is Nintendo doing? You know, why didn't we get a regular Direct in February? We got Endless Ocean Luminous, which I know most people don't care about, but it is a first-party game. That was announced in a partner showcase, which is really weird. But then, you know, we're all kind of waiting on an April Direct now, hopefully, crossing our fingers for that. But it's just like, we should have been known about more Nintendo games for this year already. And this cycle happens pretty often leading up to the June Direct. I remember last year especially, up until that late June Direct, people were like, oh my god, there's really no games for the Switch this year. And I remember making a video just like, chill guys, we're gonna get a new 2D Mario game, probably some other stuff, maybe Metroid Prime 4, of course that didn't happen. But like, you know, you always kind of have to wait until that June Direct. But I guess the sense of urgency feels more urgent this year because we know the Switch 2 is looming, or at least we suspect the Switch 2 is looming. Nintendo still hasn't said anything officially, although I'm still expecting it to release next March. Since we kind of have that idea of a new console with all these new exciting games, we can kind of make solid predictions on what developers are working on Switch 2 games and what developers have been left for the Switch 1, and even the games that we haven't heard about for Switch 1 that we can predict, frankly, aren't that exciting. Like, I'm excited to see what Indie Cube does with, like, a Mario Party, for example. I'm excited to see what Camelot might do with another Mario Sports game on Switch, like a Mario Sports Mix kind of thing. Maybe a Pokemon remake. Metroid Prime 4 certainly being the biggest thing, I think, that a lot of us are expecting to release on the Switch 1 at this point. Maybe this year, hopefully. But even then, it's just like, so much potential is being held back by the fact that we're still on the Switch, which I understand is like pretty disappointing for a lot of people, because you just want to have that Switch 2 announcement so you can see the next Mario Kart, the next 3D Mario, Ocarina of Time remake, or whatever the next Zelda is. Maybe we could get a 2D Zelda game this year on Switch 1, actually. But it just feels like we're really in that transitional period of like waiting for the Switch 2 to be announced so we can finally see the exciting games that we're waiting for. Not to say that the Switch 1 doesn't have anything exciting left. Like I said, Mario Party, Mario Sports, Metroid Prime 4, maybe that Fire Emblem 4 remake, like, those are all games I'd be very excited to play, but they're not like the tentpole Nintendo titles. Of course, we also have Pokemon Legends EA next year on the Nintendo Switch, which is very exciting as a Pokemon fan. But with the lack of a February Direct that we're used to, and the lack of a Switch 2 announcement right now, we're just kind of in purgatory, it feels like, as Nintendo fans. And as a Nintendo, you know, content creator, I'm very fortunate in that this isn't like my job. I don't do this for a living, so I don't need to make a video every day. So when Nintendo is relatively quiet, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really affect me. I've been having a great time recently going through my backlog. I'm playing through Dragon Quest XI right now, as you all probably know, and also just making a lot of other types of videos. You know, I don't only rely on Nintendo news, which feels kind of nice. Recently, my other videos have been doing pretty well, like my Dragon Quest video, the Wii U and 3DS stuff when the shutdown happened. Those videos did pretty well for me, so like, I'm certainly not complaining from like a content creator standpoint. I don't really care. You know, I would love if a Nintendo Direct was looming, if we hear a tweet from Puro, because I always just get really excited when those things happen. I love talking about, you know, I love speculating Nintendo announcements with you all. That's why I do this for the most part. So yeah, of course, I'm looking forward to when that happens. But, you know, I can be patient. I'll give Nintendo time to cook, but it just has felt a little weird this year, especially ever since Mario Day, I would say. Or really, I guess since the partner showcase, because we had the partner showcase, which was in late February. Then on March 10th, Mario Day, we had those weird trailers with release dates for Thousand Year Door, as well as Luigi's Mansion, and the confirmation of the Mario movie 2. And then ever since then, it's just been basically quiet. We got that opening for Thousand Year Door release, like the remade opening, but that's not really like a trailer. That's just like a scene from the game, which feels weird. We had the Endless Ocean trailer, which a lot of people were trying to say like deconfirms an April Direct. I don't think so, because that trailer would not have been in a Nintendo Direct, because it was like vibes based. You really got to take in like the sound and the atmosphere. That wouldn't really make sense in a Direct unless they wanted to kill all pacing. Like Endless Ocean would be a highlight reel where the announcer like just gives you a brief overview of like how many fish are in the game. Like that trailer, that wouldn't have been in a Direct. But even still, Endless Ocean, as excited as I am for it, I know it's not going to move the needle for most Nintendo fans. So really, I would say for a lot of Nintendo fans, the last time it was really exciting in terms of announcements would have been last September when we had the last regular Nintendo Direct. Of course, February leading up to the partner showcase was very exciting with all of the whatever the heck happened with that, with the delay because of the Microsoft announcement that they did. That was really weird. So it was an exciting time to speculate and theorize what the heck is happening. But the result was a partner showcase, which, while I still really enjoyed, and, I do value third-party games quite a bit on Nintendo Switch, a lot of people don't, however. A lot of people don't really care about a Monkey Ball game, or Unicorn Overlord, or Saga Emerald Beyond, or, Animal Wells coming out soon. Like, a lot of people don't care about these games. I don't really... I understand, like, from the Nintendo perspective, like, you want to see those first-party games, but I play pretty much everything on Switch at this point, even though I have a PS5. Like, I'm playing Dragon Quest XI on Switch just for that portability aspect, and for the partner showcase, I was excited to see, Unicorn Overlord again, and see that Monkey Ball game announced. Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance looks cool. So even third parties on Switch, I was, excited to see, but I understand why a lot of Nintendo fans weren't happy with a partner showcase, and now it really does feel like we're in that waiting mode. So we'll have to wait and see. There's also the Level 5 Vision. I forgot to mention that in my last Nintendo Direct video. That was announced, I think, in November to air in April. They didn't give a date for it, though, and we still haven't heard anything. I know the beta for that Inazuma 11 game on Switch is happening right now. You can go download that. I believe on the Japanese eShop, maybe. Or maybe just worldwide, I'm not too sure. But we're expecting a Level 5 showcase soon that will announce a new Yokai Watch game. And we don't have a date for it, and it's supposed to be within the next, 3 weeks. So that's weird. We had that AAA indie showcase yesterday, and I kind of mentioned in my last video, maybe Hollow Knight Silksong would be there after all the recent ratings. It wasn't there. So it does feel like we're gonna get a Direct this month. I really do think within the next 2 weeks or so. It's not that unlikely, in all honesty. But maybe Nintendo will push it off until June. I mean, I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, especially if we are expecting the Switch 2 to be announced soon. And that's another thing too, the Switch 2 in of itself. If the earnings call is on May 7th, right? So that's when Nintendo will kind of forecast the next fiscal year for their investors. I would expect a Switch 2 confirmation before then, before May 7th. I still hold true to that. I've been saying that for a long time now, but maybe that just takes the form of like a press release a week before. Maybe that's just in a slide in their earnings call where they have like the slides. Maybe it's just a slide in that and they say, hey, we don't have anything to say right now, but we are going to be releasing new hardware in the next fiscal year. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know. I'm on my toes. I can be patient. I can wait for Nintendo to open up their hearts to us and show us all of the goodies they're hiding. But I do understand why a lot of people are pretty not disappointed with Nintendo, but just like there's not a lot of hype, you know. There's a lot of like anticipation, but it's almost like this anticipation is it's leading on a little bit too long, I guess, for a lot of people. But I'm fine. We'll see how it all goes. Let me know how you all doing in the comments below. How are you feeling about Nintendo in 2024? Are you happy with their output in terms of releases so far? Are you happy with how they've been marketing their games and announcements? I would love to get a conversation going in the comments below. Of course, subscribe here for more Nintendo Switch news, reviews, discussions, all of that stuff. Once again, going to keep trying to branch out a little bit here. So I'll be doing a Dragon Quest XI review, I think, here soon. Because I'm almost done the game, and it is very good. But yeah, until next time, folks, peace.